Daniel 3 feels like this chapter jumps more quickly to like application for us in the sense that like it's more easily accessible to kind of think yourself into that kind of a situation where you're put on the spot or the pressure's on to conform or in some way compromise your faith and kind of would you be obedient all the way to death? And that's sort of the very quick entry point into what Daniel 3 confronts us with.
Yeah. So I think there's much going. It's a popular passage. It's one of those things we did in Sunday school all those years ago. You've got the fiery furnace. You've got this mysterious fourth figure. You've got what would you do in the similar situation, which I think is a really good place to start. For my mind, as I hit the passage this week and I was looking at what goes on, my biggest question is actually not in the passage, but what's missing from the passage. And I look at the top of the page and it says Daniel chapter 3, but I look in the passage and I was like, where is Daniel? I'm like, it's all about Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego's faithfulness to God in the midst of opposition to the point of death.
Yeah,
great, love it. We'll hit that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I went down the rabbit hole to start with of where's Daniel in Daniel chapter 3.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that's like, let's get out of the road so I can just not think about it too much.
Because it's the only chapter he's not mentioned.
He's the
only chapter he's absent.
Only chapter he's absent from the narrative. And his conspicuous action both in chapter 2 and chapter 6 means that you would assume that the fourth bloke is... Did Daniel throw himself in?
Hang on, guys, I'm coming in.
Hey, I'm obedient too. Don't leave me out of this narrative. No. But there's a bunch. The short answer is we've got absolutely no idea. The beautiful thing about Hebrew, I love the coverall of narrative gap.
Yeah.
When it's not stated, we don't know, and that's okay. If it was important, we'd be let know.
Yeah.
But there's three main theories around where Daniel is in chapter 3 that are worth noting. The first is that as one of the right-hand men of the king, he's away on business. He's a special envoy to some other country and he's not there at the point where the decree is said, bow down and worship the golden statue or you get thrown in the furnace. That's theory one. Theory two is he is just... willing to bend the knee because he goes, I'm scared of being thrown in the fire, and so therefore I'm just going to capitulate and do that.
Daniel the liberal.
That's one of the theories, and you go that doesn't really have any credibility when you actually read the wider context. And the third one is that he has a special exemption from the king. Off the back of the chapter 2, where he's proved that his God is the God of gods and above all other gods, and so the king has given him some level of special exemption from this, and that's that. That doesn't have much credibility in terms of when you see the list that's repeated multiple times: satraps, the prefects, the governors, and all of the other Babylonian officials. That doesn't look like. Oh, except for Daniel and Gary and Bruce, they were off somewhere else and they're allowed to do whatever. So that doesn't have much credibility.
Yeah.
And so I think the most credible theory, and it's just that a theory, is that he's off as a special envoy somewhere else at the particular time. But anyway, enough about what's not in the passage. Like if you look at what is in the passage, you've got three blokes who understand who God is. They trust him. They take him at his word, and they then are willing to back God over any obstacle that comes before them. And so that's the space that we enter into chapter 3, where Nebuchadnezzar, I don't know what's in Nebuchadnezzar's head, but he's just had a terrifying dream about a statue that has been a symbol of his kingdom's destruction and subsequent 4 other kingdoms' destruction after him. And yet he thinks it's a good idea to build a golden statue. Where is his mind in that? Yeah. I think that probably just reveals his mind. But he builds a statue, a golden statue. Well, he's been told that he's the head of gold. Yeah. And then he makes everyone bow down and worship it in idolatry. And sure, Nebuchadnezzar has a reputation as a pious a pious pagan, let's put it that way. He takes seriously his idolatrous worship, and so it's fitting that he does this in his worship of many Babylonian, or the gods of Babylonia. We've already seen him grab some of the articles from the temple of the God of Heaven and add it to his little arsenal
collection
of god toys. And so he's quite comfortable with that. The polytheistic approach to having multitude of gods. Every time he references gods, he usually pluralizes it. So like his observation about the fourth one looks like a son of the gods. And so that's kind of, he's totally happy. And so it is coherent that he, after going, oh yeah, the God of Heaven, he's powerful after Daniel and his interpretation of the dreams. It's coherent within his framework to then go, oh yeah, but also gold statue, also God, bow down and worship it, and by extension, bow down and worship me. And so as he sets that up, and everyone bows down and does it, because you go, all right, bow down to a golden statue or death. I think I'll bow down to the statue. And unless you've got a good reason, that's the logical choice, right? There's a great YouTube video a bunch of years ago that was called Cake or Death. And he goes, imagine if we had to torture people and we offered them a choice. Said, would you like cake or would you like death? And it plays out as this.
It sounds like sketch. A Monty Python thing.
Yeah, it's very, very similar kind of style. And they couldn't figure out why people kept choosing cake.
Yeah.
You go, why does everyone keep choosing cake? Because like it's a no-brainer. And similarly, in the Babylonian court, when satraps, prefects, governors, officials, everyone is bowing down in worship of this gold statue, none of them are taking the statue particularly seriously, but they're going, I'm more attached to my head than I'm attached to doing something else. And I like fire for barbecuing meat. I don't like fire for being thrown into to die. It's a no-brainer. And unless you've got a really good reason to say no, it makes sense that all of these people bow down and worship. What doesn't make sense for me is the cranky few that go to the king and go, whoa, hang on, we're all doing the right thing. Give us a pat on the back. We're good boys. But Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, they're being naughty little boys. You should grill them, both literally and metaphorically, to find out what's going on. And so at that point, I go, like, what's with that? Are they trying to curry favour with the king? Do they just not like Shadrach, Meshach? Had they had a fight at dinner the night before? Are they just cruel, heartless Babylonians who just enjoy the whole death cult and everyone dying? Even though they'd been redeemed by Daniel in chapter 2, they're here trying to get other people. And I don't know, maybe it's just a redirect to get the... if the king's not looking at you with anger and looking at someone else, that at least leaves you safe with this volatile ruler. But I just imagine they go to the king and Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego get brought in to have a chat. Why are they throwing other officials under the bus? Is it a better you than me?
Sort of envy thing. I think they're just the jealousy of the Jews. I think they've got this vendetta against them. That was my read, but it doesn't say that. But just the hint in verse 12 that these Jews whom you have set over the affair. I think the pairing of these Jews whom you've set over the affairs of Babylon. I feel like there's something about that's like this isn't how things are meant to go. We conquer nations, we capture them, we re-educate them, they become useful tools in our system. We didn't know that we were competing with them for jobs. That was my read. Like they keep getting elevated.
That certainly fits with like chapter 2. Daniel's described as an exile of Judah.
Yeah,
it's not one of your Babylonian court folk.
Yeah,
it's one of those exiles, one of those outsiders that we're trying to make an insider.
Yeah,
that's interesting.
It has that personal vendetta. Oh, and I wonder if that kind of foreshadows chapter 6 when Daniel's in the dock, and it's a similar thing, isn't it? He's praying in his room, and they're kind of out to get him. Like,
Yeah, and look, I think you've nailed that. There's a dead set link between chapters 3 and 6. They're parallel storylines, similar shapes, similar outcomes, similar deliverance. And yes, I'm looking forward to us hitting chapter 6. Yeah, same narrative arc, different set of circumstances, different faithful one, same faithful God. But yeah, like I one of my favourite verses in the Bible is where Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego are standing before the king, and he goes, "Listen up, punks. second chance and last chance. Did you really have the audacity not to bow down and worship my statue? Because which God is going to save you from my hand now?" Like he throws the gauntlet. I just feel like he's slapped the God of heaven in the face with a gauntlet, ready to get ready to fight, biffo with God.
Yeah.
And their response is polite, it's measured, and it says, "Our God will surely save us." And you go, "Oh yeah, fair enough. That you're backing your God over the king, no worries." But even if he doesn't, we're not going to bow down and worship your statue.
Yeah.
Like at that point, it would have been fine to say, "No, God will deliver us from this. We back our God." But then they poke the bear. They go, even if he doesn't, we are willing to die rather than bow down in idolatrous worship of something that's not the God of heaven.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, that is awesome. These guys are some of my heroes.
Yeah.
They're not quite at Jesus level, but they're kind of up there in their heroes of the faith space. And they put their money where their mouth is. So presumably, when he gets the fire heated up 7 times hotter, that's not an instantaneous process. You don't just turn the knob up. There's more fire, more wood getting added to the fire. As the strong men are tying them up with the ropes and getting them prepared to be thrown into the fire, I'm presuming there's a window there where Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego are actually considering the position that they've just placed themselves into. And there's heaps of opportunity there for recanting and going, you know what, actually not keen to go on the barbecue right now. But their resolve is actually vindicated by the fact that they do end up in the fire. And so they have conviction. They've got the conviction to actually stand and say it to the king, to hold their ground and have faith in God's deliverance. And they're not expecting temporal deliverance in the fire. Although they go, look, God's capable of doing. Is he going to do it? Dunno. But what's important to us is not whether or not we get saved out of the fire. What's important to us is faithfulness to the God of heaven, which is a beautiful reversal of the whole problem we've seen in Joshua Judges and the era of the kings, which is just, Israel had no king and everyone did as they saw fit. All of a sudden, we've got 4 blokes, only 4, but 4 blokes who are actually walking the talk. They're actually living lives in honour of God and his deliverance. And they are faith-filled. They're faithful, but they are filled with faith in God's ability to act. And they're totally happy if he doesn't. Obviously, I don't think any of them are, yay, fire, I love fire. But they're actually going, you know what? If this is what we need to do, then that's okay.
It's almost like they've made the choice easy because they haven't, they put before them the most sort of blatant example of, commandment 1, you shall have no other gods. And even the setup, like you mentioned, to have this, image of gold. Like, how could you not read that and not be thinking of Exodus 32 and the golden? Like, this is it's almost an original sin. Like the golden calf does have that original sin, and then it's just repeated all like you said, through Judges and etc. They keep falling into idolatry and
well, it is the original sin, right? Well, it's not the original sin, like Adam and Eve, but in terms of sin exists before the law does, but as the law is handed down, what's the first corporate sin that Israel commits whilst they're the recipients of the law? It's the golden calf. Idolatry is at the heart of who they are in that totally depraved state. Which is just amazing. anyway, they rock up to. They get thrown in the fire.
Yeah.
They are filled with faith, and I like. It's almost comical. Like the king stands up, and so like, like ordinarily the king's sitting on his throne and he's just ruling. Yeah. But there's shock to actually he stands up and goes, "Hang on a second, didn't we throw 3 guys in the fire? Yeah. Why are there 4 and one of them's all shiny? Yeah. And one of them I'm going to attribute as an angel. Like he looks like a son of the gods, and then I'm going to call him an angel a few verses later. Yeah. This mysterious heavenly figure that delivers from the flames and redeems from certain death. You go, there's a whole lot of resonance with a few other people that we can see.
Yeah, beautiful. yeah.
And so yeah, I'm really happy. I'm really happy to go. Oh yeah, probably Jesus, maybe the Holy Spirit, maybe it's an image of like a representative of God, be it an angel, or it's unmistakably from God if it's not God the Son or God the Spirit or some physical manifestation. But certainly God is the deliverer in this story. And it's interesting how the one who is in the flame with them, they're in the flame together. But Nebuchadnezzar calls them out of the flames, and then the 3 of them are redeemed through the flames, which fires off a whole bunch of different references in the New Testament, escaping as ones through the flames. And then we see that they're not singed, their hair's not burnt. Yeah. And the most miraculous thing in the whole thing, they don't smell like smoke. Yeah. I cannot fathom being close to a fire and not smelling like smoke. Yeah. But yeah, I even go, I mean, we talked about it a little bit last week. But it's fascinating that they're burning but not consumed in the fire. And so my mind goes to burning bush and Moses, God's presence. And then there's that, the 4th person in the fire who is also burning but not consumed. And so you've got God's presence arriving in the midst of fire that's burning but not consumed. And so, Moses is pushing toward, like, that's pre-law, Israel, really, pre-Exodus, all that kind of stuff. We've now got them in exile again, and so there's heaps of exile Exodus links that I think are wonderful. But you've got another burning but not consumed moment where God's presence is delivering good news of redemption, saving his people from the oppression of a ruler dictator, be it Pharaoh or Nebuchadnezzar. And then you've got him leading that particular official king, ruler, Pharaoh or king, to utter the words that surely this God is superior, God of gods, Lord of hosts, whatever the descriptor is that he's using in those both scenarios. Yeah. But this is a picture we've seen before where all seems lost, either be it in, they're stuck in Egypt with no hope and an unfair ruler. They're stuck in Babylon with no hope, but yet God rocks up and his presence delivers redemption to those who are suffering. Which I find that a beautiful arc. And then they get promoted, which kind of seems like an interesting verse to add there in verse 30. But you go, all right, that's interesting.
Promoted. The presence things keeps rattling around. Touches your favorite topic of the temple, in the sense that everything so far in the 3 chapters of Daniel are like a complete reversal of the image in Ezekiel of the Spirit of God departing from the temple. Because in every chapter, God has been present in some fashion. I guess in the other chapters you could argue that God is certainly sovereignly working, perhaps from afar or whatever, but he's protecting them. But whereas this chapter puts that much more deeper sense that God is not just watching over us and protecting us. He's manifestly with us. And I think, that's a very, pretty firm message for God's people in exile, out of exile. God hasn't left us.
And God's presence arriving in fire. You kind of like beginning of Acts, Holy Spirit comes down, tongues of fire, like dove, like there's imagery there that just it mirrors when all hope is lost. God rocks up, and he rocks up in these mysterious, fiery places, time and time again. Burning bush here, Holy Spirit, tongues, fire. Looks like fire descending. But yeah, I find it remarkable how God arrives when all hope is lost. So we're in Babylon. There's no one's in the land. So 10 tribes have been carried away. The other 2 are now here in Babylon. Temple's missing. We're not seeing God's physical presence. We're seeing him pull the strings. We're seeing his faithfulness in Daniel. But then you've got this messenger of God, if not God himself, arrive in the fire to turn up when 3/4 of the faithful Israelites are left. So three out of the 4 guys, Daniel somewhere, but 3/4 are about to be destroyed. How do you come back from that? But then God rocks up and delivers his people through the flames. And that's before you go to purification, purification roll of fire. And at many respects, right, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who we don't hear much from, if anything, as Daniel continues. This is kind of their swans, or the big pinnacle moment of their the narrative that involves them. How do you peak after that? Right, you've remained faithful to God to the point of death, and been vindicated. They walk around for the rest of them. It's like, you can't touch me. Like Satrach goes, I'll tell on you. You go, just go to it. What's going to happen, mate? They're going to chuck me in the fire again?
You got another toaster for me?
It's just great. But like at that particular point, you go, where to from here? Well, we've got no idea. And then we then follow Daniel, and then through Daniel's own episode like this, where he has his own fiery furnace moment in the form of a lion's den, and then into Daniel's dreams and the prophecies that then come on going forward. But it's a nice crystallizing moment. It's kind of a purification of priorities of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, because they're like, all right, if we've been faithful to this point, what more is there but more faithfulness? And I always go, what do you reckon the conversations would be with those satraps, prefects, governors, and all the other officials? They're like, wow, you take your God really seriously. Tell me about that God. Anyway, I reckon there probably was a few evangelistic wins there. Go forward.
I'm just kind of keep getting amazed how many like little Old Testament threads this weaves in, almost as a story that's, I mean, you've already thrown in a few Exodus 32s there. You mentioned Psalm 1 and 2 on Sunday as well. Another one that's just come to mind as we were chatting here, I don't know if this is legit, but when the men are tied up, I think it mentions it a couple of times, the language of them being bound and tied up. And that, to my mind, pulls in an image of Genesis 22 and Isaac being bound. Because we get this kind of another moment where like the sacrifice is imminent and there's no way out kind of thing, and then God provides. That's just I don't know if it's a legit connection, but I'm hearing it
as you're saying it. You go, Isaac's taken up the hill. His one and only son, the child of the promise. He's then presented as a burnt offering, and so you've even got the flame, and so he's placed on the burnt offering, and then God provides a substitute. And so like that, I reckon, I think that's legit.
So it feels like it's the beautiful narrative. Like, how, I mean, there must be more here. Even the mention the hair isn't singed and the smell of smoke. That sounds like one of the Psalms of Ascent. Your feet will not stumble and you will not strike your foot against the stone. He will send his angels. All of that. If you're a Jew and you're hearing these stories or reading them with this shading, it must be remarkable to have in your brain this infiltration of images that are meant to have formed you as clearly the kind of stories that have formed these guys, Shadrach, Meshach, like they have learnt deeply that God can be trusted and he comes through for us. But the way the story is told is almost kind of this collage of testimonials from history.
Yeah. And I haven't thought much about it until you just mentioned it. But so burnt offerings are an act of worship that's primarily about God's glory and worship of him. And so here Shadrach, Meshach and Abednego are actually, they are a burnt offering. There's actually and their act of worship is actually being cast into the fire. And through their act of worship, which is expression of faith through holding firm and then taking a stand against the king, but they're vindicated, and their act of worship and their act of faith actually leads to deliverance from that oppression, that sin, that pain, which is a beautiful picture.
Yeah.
We should keep digging into that as Daniel goes on.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the other thing I found, and you tap this too, the humor.
Yeah.
Like this is a really funny story. I think right from the start, where you say he makes this dirty, great big statue, it is kind of comical. The silly repetition, the governors, satraps, prefects, those repeated things, which give this like shading of some like great, ceremony, like the pomp and ceremony of something that's unfolding. That's it's like when I watched like the military tattoo, like the Scottish, or whatever, Edinburgh, whatever that is that happens at Christmas. You watch all the pomp and ceremony of these soldiers marching out in their file, and it has that sort of shading. But it's comical because of how empty it is. Like with the Jewish lens, this guy who's making an idol, like he's made it out of gold. Like it's something from the elements of the earth. It's a created thing. It seems so silly to erect this stupid statue and pretend it's something. So the repetition makes it just more comical, and then the ridiculous instruments, like just this shading of humor reminded me of Judges 3 and Ehud. Everything in that story was meant to just completely take the mickey.
Yeah. And like, so the instruments are funny, right? Because they're all, some of those are instruments of worship that Israel then uses to worship God. So the harp, the timbrel, and the lyre. Yeah. And so they're amongst other instruments there, but they're painting as this elaborate religious worship event that's taking place. And like even like 27 meters tall is how tall this statue is. When John and I were painting the church, that tall wall is 9.6 meters tall, and climbing out the scaffolding, I looked down and I was just like, man, that is just horrendous. And 3 times taller than the roof of church. I'm just like, that is something. A monstrous, and only 3 meters wide. Is not that big. Like it's 10 times taller than is wide. I was like, anyway, there's something just remarkable about how stupid it is to build and like, I don't know, what's the price of gold? Like it's like I don't know, something stupid per kilo. You think there's a lot of gold in that. That's a lot of resources wasted on idolatry. But that always brings me back to the fact that any resources you spend on idolatry is wasted resource, including ourselves. And so, anyway, I find this whole passage a really helpful reminder that idolatry is really easy to slip into, and our default is actually to be sliding in this direction by default. It actually requires us to take a stand, to know what we believe and be willing to stand by what we believe, or we'll just end up being enculturated into the wider masses and bow down like all the satraps and the prefects and everyone else, to worship whatever idol, whatever king or provincial ruler or premier or prime minister or thought leader, whoever it is, whatever they present before us. If we actually don't know what we have faith in, if we don't know who God is and what he's done, if we don't know who we are in relation to the body of Christ, our default will be to slide down that slippery slope of idolatry and just become like everybody else. If there's nothing else in the book of Daniel, it's to show us that being set apart for God's purposes is a good thing. And even if there's only 4 people that agree with you in a whole nation when everyone else is against you, honouring God is always worth it and never a waste of time.